Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerd Archives. I'm your host, the Nerd Archivist, and today we're going to change things up. Instead of the usual Let's Plays on the channel, I wanted to focus on, the archival parts. I mean, the video games are part of the archives, and we have loads of other stuff that I would prefer to show you over time than to spoil many surprises. So we decided to dig in our literal vault or collection of vast tabletop games. And I figured, you know what? It's spooky season. It's all Halloween, October. It's the mood of fear and scares and horrified cheers and jeers. And why not set off with a good kickoff with a good classic, Horrified. So a little bit of information about Horrified. It is a Ravensburger licensed game. Ravensburger is a Germanic company that has garnered the world over, especially here in the U.S., with loads and loads of games and tie-ins that many rival publishers like Funko Games and stuff came up to challenge them for that throne. And I think Ravensburger has been holding itself pretty good against a lot of its competition, as far as I can tell, respectfully. And this was one of the many games done by a group hailing from Seattle, Washington, called Prospero Hall. It's a team that has done all the designs and the mechanizations of the game that have actually been taking over in recent years, for better or worse. Again, opinions aside. Horrified basically is one of those games that has been brought to a unique attention. I don't know if it's the first. It feels to me, I can be corrected, and that's what the comments are for, respectfully, as long as you're nice. I think Horrified introduced a unique system that we'll be seeing very soon and dissecting once we get one of these babies open. In fact, we're going with the granddaddy, the first edition of Horrified, because why not? Again, spooky season and all. So, Horrified, it has been done by a team called Prospero Hall, and chances are these guys are so big in the board gaming industry that chances are you may have at least one, two, maybe even three or four of those games right in your own closet or your own home. I'm probably playing them right now as I'm speaking. That's how big and influential Prospero Hall has been in recent years. So, Horrified, this game came out back in 2019. And it's themed after the old monsters of yore, the Universal Studio monsters, that in recent years have been getting a little bit of revitalization, albeit controversially due to the remakes and how not so good that they've tried. It was a dice throw from Universal. They got embarrassed by it, so that's why they haven't attempted on doing any more Universal monsters yet, and kind of been going with the gambles with the other stuff. So it's going to be a long time before we might see any more Universal Studio monsters classics coming out to try and recapture that old magic from a long time ago. But that's where the originals are for, and that's where we focus on respectfully today. Quick thing I wanted to point out too, one of the things I really loved about the Horrified art on these boxes is the theme. Like, if you look at each one, they're all skull based. They're all skulls. And you have the antagonist looming over, and then of course some of them, at least these two editions, have the heroes on what they're going to be facing. The original went with more classic noir, classic horror motif. That's appropriate. So, in just a minute, we're going to pop open the first edition here, and we're going to see what truly made these games remarkable. And like I said, a little bit of a quick thing was that this was 2019, 2021, I believe, and this came out just this year of this recording, 2023. Just wanted to throw that out there right quick. All right, let's dissect and open one of these babies. Alright, now we are going to actually dive into Horrified. You're going to see me a little bit, so don't mind me. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a little bit of opening and kind of show you. Let me see if I can get in here. Show you what this box looks like. Because one of the first things I love is the box art. And I love down the sides you get that creepy homage. Like there's the Wolfman. The moon is his eye. He's howling viciously. You got the rippling effects of the water of the Gilman. Or the creature. Sorry. Gilman's more of that generic monster term like Castlevania and stuff. But this all started with him though. The creature from the Black Lagoon. You got the Bride of Frankenstein. You got the angry villagers. The torch, fire, and the smoke becoming the stripes in her hair. I thought that was very creative and cool. And then you got the monster, or people have mistaken it as Frankenstein. In fact, the manual even points out that because the villagers are so afraid of all the monsters, they've pretty much stuck with the generic term. Instead of calling it the monster, they call him Frankenstein. Instead of Frankenstein's monster. So, have at you on that part. But I thought that was adorable. Because a lot of stuff that came in the 20th, 21st century still refers to him as Frankenstein, even though it's his creation, Frankenstein's monster. We're getting a little look on the back here. And it tells you how many players there are, age, how long it will take you for a particular game, content. And it says here, a city screams in terror, a cooperative game against the world's most famous monsters. The village is under attack. Dracula, the mummy, Frankenstein's monster, his bride, and more on the rampage, and your team of heroes must defeat them. Each monster offers an entirely unique challenge, and players can adjust difficulty by playing against a new group of adversaries every game. Overcome them all before the horror overwhelms you. And you got the video that may or may not work now, and things like that. Trademark titles, Universal, Prospero Hall, the team again hailing from Seattle, Washington, and Ravensburger. So that's the outside of the box itself. Now for the fun part, I get to open it up, and you get to see a lot more cool little gems in here. So onto the side of the box, if nothing falls out, we get to see classic headings and titles, the explanations of the monsters in general, Dracula, the mummy, Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein. We got the Invisible Man, the Wolfman. Sorry if I'm kind of fighting a little bit here because I'm trying to get a good focus so everybody can look and read. Creature from the Black Lagoon. So we got all those classic oldies presented with love and care. And as an homage to one of the horror movies, it's funny that back then, it's kind of adorable by now, there used to be a warning for audiences in playful banter about the horrors, and because back then, as funny as it is to laugh like, oh, Frankenstein, Dracula, are you kidding me? Those don't look scary. Those look just very cool and common. Well, back then, during the 30s and 40s, it was a different story. I mean, hell, actually, respectfully, they're still pretty creepy in their own right, so there is going to be some nightmare fuel here and there. And let's see, we're going to start off with the board here. We feel it would be a little unkind to present this game without just a word of friendly warning. You are about to unfold one of the strangest tales ever told. We think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we warned you. I always love that. You got your components, the manual. Setup is, I would say, pretty quick. Oop, one of the components I thought I put away decides to play creepy on me and hide in the board. Naughty little piece. There we go. We'll put them there and we'll showcase them at a time. So, you got your overlay. Let me see. That's here. So you got your map here of the village. See if I can zoom in a little bit on some parts. And actually, I got the village here. You got your terror meter above, all the locales, the Universal Monsters logo and Horrified. And I always thought it kind of played very cute and adorably well for its theme. It's in the 30s and 40s. In this bizarre Universal Monsters multiverse, a lot of the characters come together in both dread and fear and are just minding their own business. And all of a sudden, for some odd reason, the Universal Monsters start rolling into this village and start causing havoc. You got your manual, obviously, in order to learn the game. You got your, as just like the box, the credits, the contents, and Universal's logo on the back, Ravenburger. I'm going to throw this little fella back in, because I did not know he snuck out. I really didn't. Very appropriate too, because it belongs to the Invisible Man. You got your components for your monsters. Your chosen heroes. One of the things I love, and I kind of wish they did with the other Horrifieds, and you will see the other copies very soon, next videos onward. I love that this bag is, I guess this is mesh. So the other bags, I guess for cheaper purposes, instead of going with this nice little soft bag, the others are recyclable plastics in both versions. But this one I love the most for this reason. It's soft. You can actually mix the pieces a little bit better. You'll see why the pieces are all kept in that bag. And I think it's a great storage thing, and it's just part of the game's design. You got your dice. You got all the villagers and heroes and their standees, the terror and the frenzy meter that will better be explained later. Monster mats and the setups behind. One more time, just in case. It's going to be obscured with all the plastic warning here, but for anyone that's wanting to read what Sam Hill this is all about, or how to set them up, there you go. But I got a treat for y'all because, well, hold on. We'll get to that in just a sec. Because we're almost finished. You got your reference cards, the white deck, your perks, the monster cards. And then finally, the main attraction, the Universal Monsters, the spooky monsters that hide in your closets or under your bed, maybe outside your door, I don't know. Here we got Lon Chaney, or Lon Chaney Jr. as the iconic Wolfman. Let's see if I can get very close. There you go. That's very pretty. I will say the plastic is very soft. Kind of, I don't want to say cheap, but if you've touched this type of very soft plastic, you might get the thing, it's like, yeah, it's on the cheap side, but at the same time, I really do love that Ravensburger does try to capture the essence. So in technicality, it's like having your favorite celebrity slash little creepy monsters right in the palm of your hands. We got the legendary creature from the Creature Black Lagoon in all his gill and clog-covered glory. Count Dracula from the late Bela Lugosi. I'm hoping I could try and get... There you go. Focus. Focusing. Look at that. A Chad amongst his horror peers. In fact, Dracula has always been, and that kind of always makes me laugh, where Konami, just a little off topic, Konami kind of takes him as the big bad and makes all the other monsters look less capable, even though we know better. They're all capable, respectively. It isn't just Dracula. We got the Invisible Man. I cannot remember who portrayed him. I know it's not Vincent Price. Vincent Price did play the Invisible Man in the very end as a goofy little jump scare gag for Abbott and Costello Meet. I think it's called Meets Frankenstein. But what I like about that is that the title back then kept a secret, where it was a multiverse then crossover. You heard that right. It was an actual crossover between big stars and, of course, Universal's in-house stable of classic monsters coming together to an extent. Like the Mummy wasn't thrown in, as far as I can recollect. The Creature from the Black Lagoon doesn't just come out to try and scare the pants off of Bob Costello. It was just Dracula, Wolfman, and Frankenstein as the focus, and the Invisible Man making a surprise appearance, voiced by Vincent Price in the end. I thought it was adorable. We got the Mummy, and any horror fan would know Boris Karloff portrayed this bandaged abomination. There we go. It's very hard to see if it's focused for y'all to see the details or not, and I apologize. And then finally we got Bride of Frankenstein. She was never too happy to see Frankie Boy. I love that movie. It was both sad and terrifying. It's more of a tearjerker movie than... I mean, it did have some freaky parts, but it was always the heart-wrenching part, because the monster at that point wanted a companion. He couldn't be with, like, a living, breathing woman, obviously, so Frankenstein, I think it was his son. I can't remember. It's been forever since I saw the story, but one of the lineage of Frankenstein tried to make it happen for him, and things didn't go well, and yeah, it became chaos in the end. And here we are, our big favorite bolted green monster of monsters, one of the big three, Boris Karloff, yet again, Frankenstein's monster. He is one of my big favorites. Ironically, he's also one of the hardest in the game, too. There you go. Hopefully a little bit of eye candy for y'all. Because I really do love this. The game pieces are very well detailed. And I want to say proudly enough that we are going to do a bit of Let's Plays after this. I can show y'all the setup here. I mean, because why not? I got everything out just to kind of give y'all an example and a bit of a freebie for those that might have a copy. Maybe you saw somebody selling this. But I really do recommend getting it. It's a cute game. There is strategy, and one of those reasons why I love this game is Prospero Hall introduced a system that you see a lot now in a lot of tabletops. I think is real awesome. So this mode is going to be solo mode, just to kind of give y'all the idea of setup. But typically the setup, if you're playing with more people, the terror meter goes to 0. Solo mode is the exact same thing. The only difference is I think the courier is removed from the game. Actually said it like that. So the courier and 2 other special perk cards are removed from the game. So we'll just go default. This is just something to show a quick setup on how to start off the game. So you got your pick of these heroes here. And let me see. This demands a little bit of room. Alright, so you got your heroes at the very top. I'm hoping this is getting captured. I'm sorry if things are a little far. So we're going to put the villagers. The villagers on the side here are all NPCs that make surprise. You could call them guest appearances, because one of the cool things I love, a lot of these, I think Universal had fought tooth and nail to get the rights of their characters in. Like, anyone remember Professor Pearson? Here's Professor Pearson right here. He was portrayed, as you can see, the likeness. I love it, because I'm one of the big fans of him. The late Vincent Price. I love Vincent Price. I thought he was a magnificent man when he was alive. He was a very unique character up to his death. And got your components, as I showed you briefly before, and one of them was being sneaky. Game manual. So it's just a real quick setup for a game with you and your colleagues. If you happen to have a copy or come across a copy. So you put your dice where it needs to be. This little bag here has 3 different components. You got red for physical, like this rapier. Holy Cross from our church. So you got your crucifix, so that's spirit. And then you got I think it's called intelligence. That's blue items, like this camera here in laboratory that you find in a laboratory. So you got these 3 different things, and one of the cool things I love that makes this feel kind of like a video game is that all the Universal monsters have an Achilles heel. You have to beat them a specific way. And that's where managing comes in, and cooperation if you're playing with others. If you're playing by yourself, the game, again, is exactly the same. It's just the terameter's already raised up to 3. In-game explanation is the villagers are very disturbed that there's no more heroes, just this one lone hero. So their terameter goes up to the default 3, is their in-universe explanation. So they're worried, understandably. And I have actually played this game recently to practice for this video. And again, I want to do a couple of Let's Plays to kind of teach and show how the mechanics of the monsters work. But again, that's going to be later in another video. I'm just showing you the basic setup as a little freebie to kind of get everyone set in the right mood. So in a typical game, you take these hero tiles. You throw them onto a table for a second, on the side, mix them, and everyone gets to pick out a tile. Like, I decided to go with the archaeologist, and he has a special, an action, or an ability as I call it. Player 2 picks the scientist, and they have an ability, or and each action that you see as a denotion of their number shows you how many points they have left to use in an action. That could be done many of times until that action point drains out for their turn. So it's a very simple, basic gameplay mechanic that I thought was I thought it was very straightforward. Complexity, it sounds kind of silly, but at the same time, I love that depending on what game Prospero Hall worked in and dabbled in, it works. I really think it works. Like for those that aren't typical players that go too strongly with the whole stratagem thing, for those that may not have a lot of time, whatever have you, it doesn't try to leave you out. It doesn't try and segregate you into a place where you feel uncomfortable. So it's a well-rounded system where anyone, young and old, can play, have fun, and just jump right on in. That's the whole idea. So the startup, as you saw in the default, is you got your heroes right here, and you choose the monster. So everyone decides to choose the difficulty. In the manual, it will discuss the difficulty designated both by frenzy, level, and through complexity, the AI. So if you've just bought this game, it recommends you strongly to start off with Dracula. So we're going to put Dracula there. And the creature from the Black Lagoon, that is right here. Alright, so with Dracula here, his complexity is easy. It's very straightforward. He basically has two types, or one type of special, and like any other monster, there you go. Two types of things, attack and a special, that's always exclaimed with an exclamation mark when rolled. And all monsters have that. So to defeat Dracula and oust him, you have to go to 4 different parts of the village and destroy his coffins. Creature from the Black Lagoon, his playstyle is medium complexity. And what he does is attack and perform Rock the Boat. That affects this special grid here. And as you read here, you have to spend spirit, physical, or intellectual items in order to progress the boat onto this map. And you're trying to reach all the way to his lair, and that's the only way you can... He'll have the moment to be defeated. He can pull a dirty move on you called Rock the Boat, where he'll push the boat back, and you have to go back to the location. That you have to spend these points for the hidden lair and try and put it back on again in order to defeat him. It's the only way to best the creature. And it doesn't matter how strong or how many points there are, as long as you have one of each, you defeat him and he's chased off. Some monsters are implied to be slain, others, in a rare case from Universal, have a happy ending compared to, well, their actual movies that they hailed from. That's saying something. So that makes the cute factor even more, I think, adorable and interesting. That it gives some monsters a chance to have a happy ending. That's very rare. So I'm going to push this up a little bit more. There you go. Get the sheets. So usually your sheets will be like right here at the end of a table. So as long as you have space to put the mats on, it's very important. Hopefully nothing drops too much. So there you go. Set up with at least Dracula and such is let me see. There's your overlays for each different monster and components. So the creature, you put the overlay over to camp, and that's where you have to go to spend your materials on, or the items, in order to progress and get closer to ousting him. And then you got Dracula right here. Oops. Another component would have been sneaking away from me. we got Dracula's coffins, 1 of 4. They're always located here in the cave. His main hub is the crypt, the graveyard, and then up here in the dungeon. So that's his haunting areas that you have to go and defeat him. And if you saw just a second ago, in fact, I'm willing to pick it up and show you one more time, you'll notice a 6+ in physical items. So it could be like guns, pitchforks. As long as you have that number that matches or over exceeds it, it destroys his coffin. And then you got Bela Lugosi here. He always starts at the crypt. The creature always haunts the, I think it's the river or the lagoon. Let me do a little quick flip in the manual on setup. Oh, and if you're wondering what the manual looks like, it gives you all the explanation on like the phases, how the AI works, and of course the lineup of monsters. So here is setup. Actually, wait a minute. Even better, the mats on the back of these have the setup phases. So I'm sorry. Okay, place the camp overlay, place the creature in the lagoon. Well, that would have been a thing. And place the boat X on the X labeled start on the monster mat. So it's real hard to see the mat. I'm trying so hard not to push things over. There you go. Hopefully y'all can see a little bit of the map. Yeah, y'all can see a bit. So you take this boat piece and you just put it right here at the start. You're supposed to try and go all the way towards the layer. And some pieces and colors make you progress faster if you happen to have them on hand. Others, out of desperation, you might want to launch to try and keep things progressing, because there are actually 3 different outcomes in the game. Oh, and of course, before you actually start the game with your components, you also have to pick out random 12 pieces. And what you do is you put them in a matching name where they're hailing from, like this scroll of Thoth hails from the museum. Museum is right here. So that was 3. The tower, so that's 4. 5 is mansion. 6, right next door to the abbey. 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you got 2 more to go. 11, and then 12 at the tower, and then again the creature starts off in his lagoon. So there's just basic setup for those that are basically just opened up the new game and are just trying to find their place and setting on where to begin. And last component that's very vital are these. You got your perk cards. Each player starts off with 1. And to unlock the rest, you need to rescue the NPC villagers that will spawn in the game. So player 1 starts off with conduct an investigation. And player 2, special delivery. These are the 2 cards right here that are removed in solo play along with the courier, basically a little kid NPC. Then of course we have the archaeologist. He starts off at the docks, so he goes right there. And the scientist, where are you? The scientist. Scientist starts in the institute, right down there. So that's a little idea of the basic setup. And you want to have your hero deck accessible because there's going to be times where you might rescue a couple of people, hopefully, if the monsters don't get to them first. You basically earn these, and you can keep them face up, and you try to converse with your friend and colleague on how to handle, when to use it, things like that. So there's co-op. You got the monster deck. So how this works is each card, I love that there's different colors for each one to designate what monster that matches on the color that they're based off on the board. Like if it's red, it's going to be Dracula. If it's brown, Wolfman. If it's going to be blue, it's the Invisible Man, etc. So we got here the number that shows you how many items to throw into the map or generate. So you pull from this bag here, just like setup, and you just put it anywhere that it designates onto the world. For this case, some cards may have 0. This is one of those few rare ones. And this is the creature called Retreat. So it's the title, the action, place the creature at the river. So his AI would immediately have him retreat into the river if that was his turn. And then down here below, you notice different symbols of the monsters. So if none of the ones that are in the game, they're skipped over and ignored. However, whoever has the frenzy, and it always starts with the lowest number on the frenzy map, unless stated where it skips over to the next one. And then, well, if there's no other monster that succeeds that, it goes back to the lowest number. So anyone that has a frenzy, though, like in Dracula's case, can do this action. So he will move 1 space, and then he'll roll 3. So he would go like Abby. And if there's nothing there, though, he can't use the attack dice, obviously, because that's just goofy. Unless, of course, there was an NPC or one of your heroes. So it's a very straightforward game. Sometimes you'll get also, like, here's the one that mentions the frenzy. You put on 3 items. So we're going to put 3 items down real quick. This is all just to show how the system works. So in church and the precinct, so those would spawn as an example if that card was picked. On the move the frenzy marker to the next monster, move each villager 1 space toward the safe location. So from Dracula it would become the creature from the Black Lagoon. He gets to move 3, and then he would attack 2. So he would move anywhere to the nearest target. The AI works is by, it will project on the nearest thing near whoever it is, whether it's a villager or basically one of your heroes. However, rule of thumb is it will always focus, in some cases, it will always focus on your playing character. So it will always go after you no matter what. And if there's an instance where there's equal amounts of space towards, say, the NPC, one of the villagers, or your character, you get to pick. And it's exactly quoted in the Horrified manual. So the creature from Black Lagoon decides to go after, let's see, who is the closest? Oh, so they're both equal, so it doesn't really matter. So I decide, I'm the scientist, I'll be the target, so he'll go like here, here, and then here. That was 3 spaces. And since he couldn't reach me in time, he can't use the dice yet. So On the combat system for the monsters is if a monster reaches you or an NPC, depending on the number of dice, this is just an example. So let's say that the creature of the Black Lagoon has reached me. You roll your dice. That designates as a hit. The blank is a miss. And then, of course, the exclamation is a special. So we got the blank and the hit. I would take one hit, and if I were to have any items that I have obtained over my travels on the map, I can use it to shield from hits. Or there's an option where you can take the hit. If you take the hit, you start off back into the hospital right here, and the terror meter raises by 1. So the meter can go up pretty quickly depending on circumstances and how you're operating the situation at hand. So there is a little bit of fun and edge. Like at the beginning, you could be managing pretty well, and then the game just turns it completely on its head. Especially depending on what monsters you brought into the game, because the more complex they are, the more difficult they are to take down. I love that challenge. When you start the game, heroes start first, so you have, real quick thing, the hero phase. I'll show you by this little tiny card that you're usually given before setup. You have different numbers of action. You got move, guide, pick up, share, advance, defeat, and special action. So move is self-explanatory. You basically move in any general direction, and you can have as many villagers as you want with you to take with you. Guide is basically where you play hero, where you can hail an NPC character to or have them go from where they are. So, and I'll show you the actions as a little bit of a quick recap in just a second. Pick up any number of items in your space, so it could be like all of them, maybe just 1 or 2 you need, and leave the rest for your friend, things like that. Share items between heroes in your space. Advance a task by using an item at the specified location. Defeat a monster by using items in that monster space, and in special action as noted on your hero's badge. Your badge is right here, like the archaeologist. He has a special action where he can actually pick up items from an adjacent space. So he doesn't have to be on the same space to pick it up. He can just grab it right where he is, diagonally from him. Any player may play any number of perk cards. So as long as it's the hero turn is the rule. If it's the monster's turn, you cannot play your perk card. You're given little white cards like this. Alright, so here's how the player characters move. So you got, say for instance, the archaeologist, as you see. His action points are only 4. His special action is, as mentioned a while ago, he can pick up items from adjacent from himself. Title, and of course his starting location. So he starts from the docks. But I decided to bring him out here in the middle so y'all can better see how this works. So move. Move is basically like this. So he's got 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So that's moving. Guide. So we have a villager right here. Say, I picked her out random and I got her in the right location. That's beautiful. So she starts. Starts off. Actually, no. That's her. I'm sorry. That's supposed to be her designation. So with the NPCs, you notice a title above their heads on where they're running to go and the name of the character that you'll be familiar with if you've seen any of the movies. If you draw cards like this, worried fiance, place Elizabeth at the mansion, so you need to find a character named Elizabeth. She starts off here, and her designation is she wants to go to the tower. So you need to take her all the way to over there. That sounds like a lot, but in reality, if you have calculated enough space and patience, it's pretty quick. you definitely want to keep the NPCs alive to keep them dropping the game quickly. So, good example with this situation, I see Elizabeth right there. I want to rescue her because I'm just that type of nice fella. So I have 4 action points. I go, there's 3 action. I guide her to me, 2, 1, and then I stop at the bridge. So that's basically guiding. Or in this situation, if I wanted to, I can guide her and then guide her over here at the shop. So that's guiding. Pickup, again, it's very self-explanatory. Pickup is basically if you're in a location with all these yummy little items, and as stated on in both the manual and the reference card, you can pick up any number of items in your space. Like, you see that juicy area and in, all 3 of those, I can go in here. One of my action points is pick them all up. I got 3 action points left. I can go. And because he has a special, I can pick up from a Jensen area till, I ran out of points. So that's picking up. Share items between heroes in your space. So I want to meet with my friend here, right in between the precinct theater and inn. So let me see. Appropriately, that will be up to 4 points. So I got to move over there. So I got 4, 3, 2, 1. We decided to do a share. We trade items like I have. I decided to give my friend this dart and this garlic, and that will be it. Just to help arm them and make them ready for a big fight, or to survive, or to take hits and stuff. So that's share. Advance is basically when you're going and basically doing the main game objective. Scientist, for instance, decides to go to the graveyard, discovers one of Dracula's hidden little coffins. So if you have a number that either matches or exceeds, like, for instance, the scientist happens to have at one point come across this gun from the precinct a while back, came all the way down to the graveyard, comes upon this coffin and uses this exact number, 6. She discards it, the coffin is destroyed, and then you match it from the location where you found it, like right here on the sheet. So now I have 3 coffins left to defeat old Drac. And so you advance, do that, and you have that many points left to do. In her case, she has 4 action points. So she might have 3, she might have 2 left, depending on what she did prior to reaching there and doing what she just did. Defeat, again, self-explanatory. When the big finale comes, again, we're using Dracula because he's a lot more quicker. For instance, there was a time where you defeated and destroyed all of his coffins from across the villages and land. You need to meet him. So Dracula could be like going on pursuit for a minute. The scientist, again, decides to meet up with Drac. And you need spiritual items. So you need items with 6. So for instance, she might have gotten from one of her plays earlier the scroll of Thoth, and a flower. So that's about 6 right there. All you gotta do is use defeat with one of your actions. Drac is dead. And you remove the character sheet, the components, and it's just the creature from the Black Lagoon left. Is how that works. And then the last action, special action as noted above a bit ago. Any of your character sheets will explain what type of special action or ability they have. I guess in the scientist's case, it's an ability. You may add 1 to the strength of any item you use, and it's spent with performing action and attack or whatever. His case, though, the archaeologist, is very straightforward. So special action, you just shout out special action. It gets deducted from the action pool here. He can pick up items adjacent from himself. So, for instance, he's right near the inn. He decides to perform a special action. He has 4. I decided to take all, and now he has 3, and he might move and stop at a location, maybe pick up a couple more items. So in this game, there is no limit to how many items you have. It's always good to have a whole bunch to both use what you need to defeat the type of monsters in your game and something to help defend yourself. So 3 ways that the game will end. Obviously, if you succeed against and defeat and vanquish the monsters and chase them off of the village, the villagers are happy ending, everyone throws a party, the end. The last 2 is if the monsters overwhelm you. So if the terror meter gets too high, hits the skull, the game ends. The villagers and the hero are so horrified, title drop, that they can't continue and they all abandon the village. The monsters reap it. Darkness and doom and toll basically looms over the end. You lost. Another way to lose the game is if this monster deck that I showed you a few times before runs out to where you need to draw it and you can't draw anymore because they'll be in the discard pile, piling up. If you run out of cards to draw, the game also ends. You've taken too long, the villagers have lost hope, they abandon the village, game over. So it's a very straightforward game. I love it. I really do love it. And like I said, it sounds a little bland and generic on one side, but on the other hand, like I said, I was having a blast the other day before I decided to do this video, and I'm going to show you a Let's Play later on another video on how the game appropriately works. I just showed you the mechanics on how to. I haven't showed you the actual gameplay yet, and I'm really stoked on it because I had a wonderful time. So after the introduction, if you're feeling brazen enough to play the game later, you have 3 different levels. You can pick from novice, so you add 2 monsters of any type. Medium is adding 3, and then hard is 4 or above. So one thing to note, depending on what monsters are played, and depending on who you're playing as, some things may feel weighted against you. Other times, it may feel a little too easy, things like that. So there's a little bit of adjusting issues depending on who is in and who does what. And that's very normal. In fact, ironically, Prospero Hall's other games like Villainous and such, that, again, we will surprise you quite later. We are fans of Villainous. Games like that have a little bit of balance issues. So it depends on who's playing what and against with what and things like that. So balancing issues. Balancing issues are found here, but it depends on who you're playing as. In my opinion, I love this character, but at the same time, this character is so overpowered. I think this is the Explorer. She's one of my favorites. Let me see, where's the tiles? Explorer. So, she has the lowest action points, but look at her special action. Place your hero in any non-water space, meaning you could be from right here at the hospital and you could teleport all the way to the camp. It will cost you one of those 3 action points, but you could teleport the hell out of the game and just dance around everything. The only exceptions, though, to play the ground rule is that, if you're escorting villagers, as far as I can tell, you can't use that. You have to move with them the normal way. That kind of makes the game balanced and fair. It gives the monsters a fighting chance, and it gives more of a fair chance for, the game itself. So, but I love the Explorer because you can get in and out and dance and weave as much as you can. There are exceptions. As the game starts its tempo going up, it does give you a good advantage from the beginning and middle, and then maybe the end. So there are balancing issues on this game. So review-wise, my thought on the game of Horrified as a general series and as a general game as a whole, I think it's novel. I think it's very cute. It's depending on edition. So Ravensburger ended up losing the rights to using. I don't even know if they still have the rights to Universal Monsters Studios Monsters anymore, because this came back in 2019, and they developed it then, and it's kind of hard for me to say on their behalf because I don't work with the team. But in the two later sequels, or I call them sequels, but I guess reimaginings is more better. So the two reimaginings from Ravensburger that followed, Horrified that you saw at the beginning, American Monsters and Greek Monsters, their themes are more generic. Like Horrified American Monsters follow cryptids, the Jersey Devil, Mothman, that type of thing. Greek Monsters obviously is where you play in a Greek mythological setting. You're fighting against a siren. You got Medusa coming at you. You need to tame the wily Cerberus and get his little butt back to basically the underworld, where Hades might scold him and maybe give him a treat after the scolding. I don't know. I'm just saying, out of just thoughts. But I think my personal favorite out of all the Horrifieds is the first one, because I love that it's a good gift. If you have a family member or if you're a fan of the Universal Monsters, there's so many cute little Easter eggs. There's a lot of callbacks. Like, let me see if I can find them. Here they are. I love these guys. A while ago, I talked about Professor Pearson, the late Vincent Price. Here we have Wilbur and Chick, and if you're familiar with them in one of their movies, it's Abbott and Costello right here in the flesh. So there's a lot of cute little Easter eggs galore. There's a lot of homaging and mythological gags from the movies. So if you've seen every Universal movie that these monsters had starred in, it's very interesting to note of all the love and attention that the team of Prospero Hall gave to this game, as much as they can, and without going too much over people's heads. So this was made, like anything else, this was made for general fans. And if you happen to have known at least a few Universal Monsters, that's okay too. Again, it's a very straightforward game, so it's not putting you in the corner going, well, you should know this by now. And it puts you in that little clique and group, and where you feel alien and such. So I'm glad that it's a straightforward game where anyone young and old can really enjoy it. It takes up to about at least almost an hour in game time. I've played 2 straight games that took me almost 2.5 hours to play. That was in solo mode. I wasn't playing with anyone else. So if you happen to play, if you feel like you want to play by yourself, maybe you don't like. I hope you don't like it. I mean, should be a little nice to some people, but we all have preferences, and I have my hand on your shoulder there, so I can agree some. If you feel like playing by yourself, the setup as I showed you is exactly the same. The only difference is you put the terameter here at 3. You remove these 2 cards, conduct an investigation and special delivery. You get rid of those, and you don't add this little cute kid, the courier. You don't add the kid. You don't add the courier. You have to play either the scientist, the archaeologist, the explorer, the inspector, and professor or mayor. Fun fact: the mayor is the only character to not have a special, but she makes up for it for having more action points to play with. So, I thought that's a cute trade-off. Where, it doesn't sound like a lot, or that doesn't sound great, but you would be surprised. Alright, so that's the coverage on Horrified, and again, I'm really, really ecstatic on showing the actual Let's Plays. I might, for fun, play them in all difficulties. Like, maybe for fun, I will show the, from the first playthrough from the box, and then we start from novice, medium, and then of course ending off on a high note in hard. Win or lose is my thing, so I might win a few, I might lose some, but that's all part of the game, and I just want to show you how this works. It's got me very excited. So I want to thank all of you for going through my blabbering and talks on, and I know this should be a little bit more, but again, I have nothing really much to work with yet, so I really hope y'all give Peace a chance. Again, I really do thank anybody that has come across my channel and this video. As per usual, and I hate that, I agree with any other professional YouTuber about the whole spiel thing, you know, the whole subscribe. So you get the drill. If you've just come across my channel, if you like my content, please, please, please show that little love and support with hitting that subscribe button. And if you like it, please, again, I know it's asking a lot and it's annoying, hit that like button. Hit that like button and let me know, you know, if this is what y'all want, if this is good, things like that. And leave comments. Nice, good comments. I love listening to people just reminisce. This is the whole reason I want to do this channel, is I want to invoke something in somebody. A good childhood memory. Maybe you've bought this game like back in an expo. I don't know. Maybe you found this at your local Target. In fact, if I remember, I think we got Horrified in Target, if I remember. Horrified actually has been, for some odd reason, I've never recollect finding them at Walmart. It's always been Target. So you won't be able to find, this has been out for years by now, the 2019 version, but I did get a little brief looky-loo on Board Game Geeks a bit ago. You can find some for pretty cheap. Maybe the ratio between $50 to sometimes even $20 if you're lucky. It's all about hunting and looking, obviously. So, yeah. Thank you all again for joining me. And we will get back onto this very soon. And y'all have a pleasant day or night. And stay safe out there. Good day.